why it matters that the Tubman Museum is here in Macon. Harriet Tubman gets a reputation for being someone who helped lead people. But what she really was a strategist who understood that it wasn't about the journey, it was about the destination. And the destination wasn't a place. It was the sense that people had the right to be free, that they had the right to choose their future. They had the right to be whole in their person. And we're living in a time when people want us to forget those rights. We're living in a moment where our democracy is under threat, where we are technically no longer a true democracy. We are a competitive authoritarian nation. According to the Democracy Index, we're technically an anocracy. An anocracy is defined as a democracy that is slipping very quickly towards authoritarianism, but with enough patina of democracy to still have a chance. And we know that we're slipping there because we have 10 steps that have been documented across the world when democracies slip into authoritarianism. There are 10 steps to losing your way and 10 steps to falling behind. There are 10 steps to forfeiting what this nation said it believed in, what Harriet Tubman fought to make real. Those 10 steps start with an election. You know, we have elections. We have a free and fair election, or at least nominally free and kind of fair. But we have an election that gets us started, and it elects someone, but that person takes power. And he expands that power beyond not just the norms, but the expectations. He takes the letter of the law and rips it apart and says, I'm going to do what I want because no one can stop me. Because step 3 is that you weaken competing powers. You make sure that you have a Congress that won't fight and a judiciary that won't enforce. You occasionally see moments where they will strike down tariffs, but we celebrate those moments because they are few and far between. But step 3 is you weaken competing powers, and you do that because authoritarianism relies on standing alone. Step 4, you gut government so it doesn't work for anyone. Because you can't fight for a democracy people no longer believe in. And when democracy is real, when it is manifest, it's when it's doing its job. It's when democracy delivers. When people know that if I pick up the phone and call the VA, there will be someone on the other end and not an AI. It's when I call for Social Security and Social Security doesn't tell me lose my number. When you gut government, you do it because you want to break not just government, you want to break the will to believe that more is possible. And you do that because step 5 is that you want to install loyalists. You want to put people in power who have no interest in the people they're supposed to serve. And so you have a podcaster as the head of the FBI and a broadcaster as the head of the Department of Defense. You put a snake oil salesman in charge of human services. You put a lawyer cosplaying as the Department of Justice head. You take the power that we have embedded in the administration and you give it to people who have no interest in administering their jobs. You put someone in charge of Homeland Security who believes neither in security nor the homeland. But you do that at step 5 because you need people who are loyal to power and not to America. Step 6, you do this thing that they call attacking the truth. And that looks like firing Stephen Colbert and firing Jimmy Kimmel, but it also looks like gutting and defunding public television and public radio, especially in communities that know that that's the only way they're going to get the truth. You fired Karen Atia, the last black columnist at the Washington Post, for having the audacity to tell the truth about racial injustice in the United States of America. You attack the truth because you want to fill the truth with propaganda. And you allow people to extort their way into buying Paramount and shutting down opportunities. And you watch a consolidation of media that's not just about making money, it's about making the truth disappear. You do that because at step 7, the most dangerous step for a democracy, you scapegoat the vulnerable. We've learned to recognize it in other nations. We've learned to identify what they did in Germany and what they did in Hungary. We know what they've done to other communities, but in the United States, we are all about efficiency. And so they didn't have to cherry pick different names. They just went after DEI. Because DEI says that diversity is all people, that equity means fair access to opportunity, as Devontae pointed out, that inclusion means respect for belonging, and why choose which one you're going to hate? Just hate them all. Hate them all. And they hate it because they know that DEI is in America's DNA, and I can prove it. You see, DEI is more than just a boring HR seminar that you had to sit through. It's the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. It's the 19th Amendment. It's the Americans with Disabilities Act. It's the Fair Labor Standards Act. It's the Family Medical Leave Act. It's the Respect for Marriage Act. It's Title I education. And the thing of it is, we've had not one but two DEI vice presidents. One because of her race and her background, and another because if you graduated from a public high school in the last 30 years in the Appalachian Mountains that was funded by Title I to pay for education for poor rural children, then J.D. Vance is DEI all over again. They go after DEI because they know that if they can scapegoat communities that call people to their highest ideals, if you can hold people accountable for things they never did, if you can round up immigrants and treat them like their humanity ended at the border, then you can get away with whatever you want. They go after us because they know it's the only way they can stop us. But we are here because we know that the power of the people remains with us no matter what they call us. And because they know us, they go after step 8. That's when you go after the support systems. That's when you threaten lawyers and you sue law firms. You sue universities. You tell philanthropists that if they give their money, you will take it from them. And you go after those protesters and you tell them it's dangerous. And you will call them out of their names so they won't use the First Amendment, which is their right. And just in case the threat isn't enough, you have step 9. Step 9 is when you normalize state violence. It's when you put 9 cities in the United States of America under military occupation. Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland, Charlotte, Memphis, New Orleans, Lewiston, Maine, Washington, D.C., Minneapolis, Minnesota. When you have masked armed gunmen roaming the streets as secret police, you have normalized state violence because you do not intend democracy to work. And when you shoot Keith Porter, when you shoot Renee Good, when you shoot and kill Alex Peretti, and when we find out that they did it even before then down in Texas, when you are willing to take American lives, to take American power, then you are normalizing state violence, because your point is that if you're willing to fight back, you have to be willing to risk your lives, and most people aren't willing to make that decision yet. But when you can normalize state violence, when you can convince people that fighting back isn't worth the trouble, then step 10 is easy. Because step 10 is when you end democracy for everyone. And when they do that, you see redistricting in Texas in the middle of a decade. You see Florida promising they're going to catch up. You see North Carolina, I'm sorry you're heading that way, but they need you. You see North Carolina and Missouri changing their maps, trying to game the system. But then you see others who say, we want to get in on that action too. But you also see the seizure of records, voting records from Fulton County, Georgia, because you want 1 million records to which you are not entitled. That seizure had nothing to do with the 2020 election. It has everything to do with 26 and 28. That's right. Because Georgia has long been a place where they practice voter suppression so they can get it right and start to export it and franchise it around the country. I know it well. They are coming after Georgia because they know Georgia is where it's at. And if you're looking at the 10 steps to authoritarianism and autocracy, if you're looking at the 10th step when you end democracy so it doesn't work for anyone, you don't need to declare martial law. You just need to break democracy so it doesn't work for anyone else. You need to pass the SAVE Act, which will save nothing but the jobs of those who are about to lose their jobs if we do ours. Their intention is to distract us and to convince us that we've already lost. But Macon, Bibb County, I'm here tonight because if there are 10 steps to authoritarianism and autocracy, there are 10 steps to freedom and power. We're going to take all 10 of those steps in 2026. We're going to take the 10 steps to take back our democracy. We're going to commit to knowing that we are right and they are wrong, and we are blue and we are true, and we're going to get in good trouble every single day. We are going to take the second step, and we are going to share what we know. The people in this room, you are now called upon to leave this room and go to people who should have been here but didn't know they were invited. We've got to do the work of getting out there. Stop waiting for people to come to us. We've got to go to where they are. Devontae, I've been in those cars. I've been to all 159 counties. I've got a little hovel in almost every one of them. I've gone to all these places because they are waiting for us to show up. We cannot wait for them to invite us in. We've got to show up and say, we are here to share the opportunities with you. And then step 3, we got to organize. I'm the daughter of not one but 2 pastors, and my parents raised me to believe that where 2 or more gathered, you got a church. Where you got 3, you got a choir. You got 5, you got an usher board. And when you've got this room, you've got a Democratic Party ready to take this state forward and ready to save democracy. Because here in Georgia, that's what we do. We save democracy for America. But it's not enough to have great candidates. We got to make sure those great candidates get elected. That means we not only have to organize, we got to mobilize. We've got to recognize that the last few elections we've had prove that we are a blue state that's going a little purple. But the thing of it is, blue doesn't mean you win every time, and purple doesn't mean we're behind. It just means we got to fight. And that's why I'm here tonight, because John Lewis understood the nature of the fight. He understood that when you mobilize and organize, when you share and commit, when you've taken those first 4 steps, the next step is easy. Step 5 is that you litigate. Now, most of us think that that means you have to actually go to court, because half of this room is made up of lawyers. But litigation isn't just about going to court, it's about making the argument. And we are at a moment we've got to make the argument for democracy. Because when affordability is no longer a buzzword, it is a battle cry. We've got to make the argument to those who do not believe there is a solution. Here in Macon, you all have challenges when it comes to housing. Bibb County, this isn't just an Atlanta issue. You know the rent is too high, that the cost of food is too much, and that opportunities are too few. You've got the responsibility then to litigate and to explain to folks who is responsible. That we've got $15 billion sitting in our coffers in the state of Georgia, and we still are losing hospitals and doctors and lives every single day. We've got to litigate the issue of Medicaid expansion. We've got to talk about the fact that Georgia's going in the wrong direction on criminal justice reform. We've got to make the argument, and you are the ones to make it. And then we got to do my favorite one that I think John Lewis loved the most, and that's called disruption. We are not allowed to be comfortable in this moment. We are not allowed to make decisions because we are afraid of the consequences of speaking up. We have to speak up because we know the consequences. Yes. We've got to speak up because people are waiting to hear us fight. They are waiting to hear us say aloud what they know to be true. What they are facing is wrong, and we are willing to make it right. We've got to be disruptive. We've got to show up when we know we're going to lose. I'm the best loser I know. Because I do not take for granted that I'm entitled to victory, but I take for granted that I am responsible for trying. Yes. And in 2026, we've got to try. We've got to do that work. We have got to show up, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's dangerous. We've got to show up and show out and show Georgia that we see them and we will serve them. Then we have to deny the other side the ability to tell us who we are. Because too often we let them mock us, and then we start to believe that they were right. How many of you wince when you hear the word woke? Woke was born in the arms of Black people who were wrapping themselves around the flag saying, I am awake to the harm that faces me, and I will not sleep through this harm. How dare we allow them to take our language and hurt us with it? We've got to deny them the authority to steal from us. Because when they can take the language, they can take the truth. And John Lewis refused to let that be so. We've got to deny, because then we got to engage. And people aren't going to hang with you if they know that you will drop them as soon as it gets awkward. We have got to do the work of engaging people where they are. And that means showing up even if we know they're going to tell us no. My dad used to tell me, don't ever tell yourself no, let someone else do it.
Yeah.
And the reality of that is he was telling me that because he wanted us to understand that too often we lose the battle before we even enter the fight. And this is a fight we can't afford to lose. Because the fight for freedom and power in the United States starts here in Georgia. We've got a Senate race that can determine the future of this country. We've got congressional races that can signal that we can hold power and start holding power accountable. That means we've got to engage, but that also means we've got to do step 9, and that's elect the right people.
Yes.
I'm not going to pick anyone in this room, but you know who they are, so vote for them. That's how you avoid an endorsement. Because in the end of it, if we've done those things, if we have committed, if we have shared, if we have done the work to organize and mobilize, if we have litigated and disrupted, if we have denied and engaged, if we elect, then what we will be able to do in January of 2027 is demand the Georgia we deserve, demand the democracy we deserve, demand the future that we deserve. Billy Mitchell was incredibly generous with his attribution to me. And I'm going to extend his thought, because we've got to approach this year with the ambition of Dr. Martin Luther King. We've got to engage every day with the audacity of a Jesse Jackson. And we have to know that we are standing in and living the legacy of John Robert Lewis. That is who Georgia is. That is who we are. That is what this year is for. We have this moment before us, a moment where they've already told us we've lost, but we can tell they're scared. Because you don't do the things they're doing if you think you're already winning.
That's right.
You don't say the things they're saying if you think that everyone agrees with you. You see, they know what we know. That back in 2010, and one of the worst election nights in Georgia history, when, and Billy remembers this, when we lost every statewide office in Georgia for the first time since Reconstruction. That day in November, we lost the Senate to within 3 of supermajority. It would happen a year and a half later. We were diminished to just 63 members in the House. We had 68 of them, but 5 of them voted and then went over and became Republicans. And that was the day I raised my hand and said I wanted to be minority leader. And when I made my speech asking for their vote, I said to my colleagues, look, I've been a minority for a very long time. I am really good at it. I am good at being underestimated. I am good at seeing opportunity where others only see folly. I am good at patience and laying in the cut. I am good at understanding that what they throw aside, we can pick up and turn into things that are magnificent and transformative. And what did we do? Starting in 2011, we built a Georgia that looks like Georgia.
Yes, we did.
We built an electorate that looks like Georgia. We built a state that can help this country look like America.
Yes, you did.
And what we started in 2011, we will continue in 2026. And when we take the governor's mansion, and when we take the Senate, and when we take the House, and when we take every statewide office, and when we have an attorney general who actually fights for Georgia and not against Georgia, and we have a secretary of state who actually believes in the right to vote and not the right to be on television talking about voter suppression as a native good, when we do the work we need to do, when we show up as we should show up, when we have an insurance commissioner who believes his job or her job is to insure Georgians and not to ensure that companies make more money, when we have an ag commissioner who actually believes in all of the farmers of Georgia, when we elect leaders up and down the ballot and across the state who look like Georgia and who love Georgia, then that is when we are in really good trouble, and that's when we're going to get it done. Thank you so much.